as I grew up, I always found myself, you know, asking the difficult questions or fighting with people about, oh, why can't we get this opportunity? Why aren't we getting paid? Why are the men getting paid and the women not getting paid? So I used to ask these questions to the federation, and the federation would really hate me, saying that, why are you asking so many questions? You just keep quiet and play. Those kind of things they would tell me. But I was always the one arguing and fighting and, constantly poking and trying to fight for the girls, because a lot of people don't have the courage to speak. I was always the one who was speaking, and hence I became like an enemy for all these organizations. And there were times when I used to feel that, why am I the only one who's speaking? Won't there ever be any other girl also speaking with me? So that was a bit frustrating for me. But now, from 2009 till now, 2021, now I can see a lot of these girls fighting and asking these questions.
Hello everyone, my name is Din Long and welcome to the podcast Lifeline. In this podcast, I will interview people who are having a positive impact in their community and have a strong message that deserves to be shared. We will dive deeper into their journey becoming a change maker, and hopefully you can take away some insights for your own journey. And please do subscribe to Lifeline on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or any platform that you are using. And also you can share this episode with your friends if you like it. It's really what helps me the most. In today's episode, you will meet Ashreen Mridha, who is the former captain of Bangladesh national basketball team and also the co-founder of Deshi Ballers, which is a women-led organization on a mission to empower women and girls through basketball, advocate for equal rights for women to access sports, and promote basketball in a cricket and football-dominated country. She walks us through her journey from discovering basketball as a school kid to creating the first university's women league and joining the first ever national women team. She shares how basketball taught her the values of teamwork, care, and discipline, how she grew the Deshi Ballers community, and her dreams to set up the first national women's basketball league in Bangladesh. Hope that you are as excited as me to learn more about empowerment through sports. So enjoy the episode and see you later. Hello, everyone. And it's something I say all the time that I'm very happy to welcome guests, but especially you, because Lifeline community will know, but I've been thinking a lot about interviewing people who are doing sports for development. Because it's actually, for me, it's such an important topic. I love sports. I play mainly badminton. I played this morning. I think watching the Olympics made me in this mood again. Oh my God, I need to find a change maker / sport. And then I was like, oh, but last year there was someone who was doing this with basketball. Then I started to, oh my God, what's her name? And then I found you. And as I always do with all the guests, I stalk pretty much everything available on the internet. And I found so many interesting things of obviously Deshi Ballers, your career in basketball, your work at Unilever, but also the fact that you sing a lot. So I listen to some songs. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, we will see how you manage to handle all of this at the same time. But yeah, so maybe just to kickstart, this was some teaser, but would you like to introduce a bit yourself, everything or anything that you share to kickstart with?
Thanks a lot for having me here. And hello, everyone who's listening. I am Ashreen Mridha, and I'm from Bangladesh. A little introduction about me. I grew up in Dhaka, which is the capital of Bangladesh, and I grew up playing sports. And I played a very unique sport in terms of Bangladesh, because in Bangladesh you would, even if you search for sports in Bangladesh on the news, you'll probably see news about cricket or football, but not a lot about basketball. So basketball was always a very small niche sport. But the reason why I was hooked to this sport was because my father, he works at a school. He works at the same school that I went to. He was in the administration, and he was sort of managing the sports teams and making sure that the school teams would, if they went on competitions for their practices, my father would organize those things. So when I was really little, I used to go with my father to the team's practices, to the tournaments, and, when the team would prepare. And that's how I saw basketball. I never saw basketball on TV or anywhere else. I saw it live in front of my eyes. And I found the sport to be very interesting, and particularly because my school had a girls' team. And so I used to think, wow, my big sisters, they're so good. And someday I want to, wear their jersey and play for my school team. And, it'll be such a big moment of pride for me. So that was the idea that I had in my mind, that this is a sport that I want to learn. And at some point, I want to play for my school team. So that's how I started. And I played almost all my life. And after I graduated, I eventually did play for my school team. I graduated, I played for my college and university teams. And eventually I played for the national team for 10 years. But our national team at a national level and an international level, Bangladesh women's basketball team is still very new and small and amateur. But we did have a national team. We played a few international games within our region, within South Asia. And we also played in the first South Asian Women's Basketball Championship back in 2015, which was in Nepal. So, I was part of the first team that Bangladesh ever had, and the first the South Asian Championship that we went to, I was part of that team as well. So, big moment of pride to also play for the country. But eventually, as I grew up, I realized that I was transitioning from being a player to becoming an activist. I realized that the girls in every sport, whether it's basketball, football, or cricket, or volleyball, or any other sport that this country plays, I always saw that the future was, and the limelight and all the things were on men and not on women. And it was also not because women wouldn't perform or anything. I mean, our Bangladesh's women's cricket team and women's football team, they're doing really well now. They're making it to the news. They're winning World Cups. They're bringing home trophies. But even then, the TV channels are always filled with men's sports. When you open a newspaper, it's always filled with highlights from the men's teams. So all these things actually built up in my mind. And as I grew up, I started advocating for women's right to play sports. And there's a lot of discrimination that I have seen in my own eyes, that I have experienced myself. And hence, I was always looking for something to do. Like, what can I do to change this? Because, of course, people can just complain about it for years. Oh, we don't get these opportunities. Oh, nobody cares about us. Nobody writes about us. But nobody, takes an action. Nobody tries to do something about it. So then I wanted to bring about a change, but I didn't know how to. So in 2018, I actually got selected for an ESPN and US State Department sports program, which was called the Global Sports Mentoring Program. I had applied for it. It's a sports mentorship program where they teach, they pick women from around the world who are working on sports development in their communities, and they teach them how to use tools to grow a certain sport and how to develop a sport in their country. So I went on that program and they picked like 15 women every year. So it was very competitive. I never thought I would get picked, but I did. And after I came back from that program, I decided to form my own organization, which is Deshi Ballers. I was still playing back then, and I am still playing. But at the same time, on the side, what I wanted to do was create a platform where all the opportunities that we complained about all our lives, I was able to, I wanted to provide those opportunities, the fact that we didn't have enough training opportunities, the fact that we didn't have enough tournaments to play, and, not enough funding and grooming behind us. All these things I wanted to do with my own organization. And I realized that Bangladesh didn't have something like this, which is run by a female. So I sort of decided to start that, and eventually I got a lot of support from the girls on my team and a lot of friends and family, and yeah, that's how it all started. On the side, I do work. And I have a family. I'm married, and my husband is also a basketball player. His name is Ibrahim, and he has also played for the men's national team and in the big leagues over here. So happy to have found my life partner through basketball. That is really special for me. And yeah, that's I guess a big introduction about me.
Well, I love big introductions. I have 1 million things I want to say right now. But I think three things I really love about what you said. The first one is really, moving from being a complainer to someone who take action. I really love this. For me, that's really the change maker mindset, like not waiting for the government or someone else to do something, but really you took ownership of this issue, and okay, I'm gonna do that by yourself. And I think the way you took ownership of it, and for me, I was reading a lot yesterday about Deshi Ballers, and I found it so impressive, because you are building the whole, like everything about women basketball. Whether I saw you wanted to build a league, you are training a lot of players. Usually, it's from my understanding, it should be like something the government should do, right? But you are trying to do this everything and have the for me, it's crazy in a good way. So we'll come back to that. I would like to focus a bit on, I like to do it chronologically. That's why I call it Lifeline, like the line of your life. And maybe if you start again from your childhood and everything, okay, maybe we have a deep question. But I saw, okay, you joined the national team in 2009, which was the first national team. So before that, there was no national team. So I wondered, when you were young, I think you explained so many issues when it comes to women basketball. The first one, which is, it's not the sport that people see on TV. People see cricket, football, they see Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi. And then there is a lack of infrastructure. And then there is this social norm that it's difficult for women to play sports. And then there is no national team, which I guess when you are when you have ambition in sports, like the dream of everyone. So I wonder, what made you stay? What made you play basketball throughout all these years? But with all these challenges and the fact that there was maybe no national team yet.
For me, I think when I was younger, the biggest hook for me to play basketball or learn and be good at it was to, somehow be part of a team. Because I was watching my school team, the girls playing together, going to play championships together, wearing a jersey, and then if they brought back a trophy for the school, they would be celebrated at the school assembly. They were made to stand in front of the assembly, and then we would clap for them, and then they would talk about the tournament. So that time, when I was much younger, I was probably in grade 2 or grade 3, but I thought, oh my God, this is such a cool thing to do. If I could bring a trophy for my school, then it would bring so much pride. I would feel like I'm really a valuable student, or doing something good for my school. So that's the kind of mentality I had initially when I started learning. And then I bugged my father and I said, please take me to a training school and enroll me there so that I can learn. And then eventually in grade 3 or grade 4, he enrolled me in the Basketball Federation training school. That's where I started learning for 2 or 3 years, just the basics and how to play. And my goal was to join the school team. But as I grew up, and once I was in the school team, I played around 11 or 12 school championships throughout my time in school. Like from grade 6, I was picked on the team when I was in grade 6. And throughout grade 10, I played many tournaments and and during my tenure in my school team, we had a winning streak. Like we barely ever came back without playing the finals game. We were either always champion or runner up. We always played the finals. So it was really a good time for the team. And I really enjoyed playing the game. It more than the trophies and, bringing back awards and things. I think I made a lot of friends through basketball. Like I made that my teammates were my friends off the court. It was not just about practice and then go home and it's done. We used to hang out after practices as well. We became really close friends. So I found a lot of my really closest friends through basketball. That was something really meaningful for me. And I think that's the reason it kept me going. I didn't want to stop playing because I had these friendships. It was fun. I was winning. I was playing well. So it brought a lot of positive energy in me. And also, I got a lot of support from my parents as well, coming from a Muslim country primarily. Um, a lot of the girls experience a lot of barriers from home that, it's sports is something that you just only play during games period. And after that, you shouldn't think about sports. You should only think about academics or other things for your future, but not about sports. So my parents were really supportive. Like my father and mother both saw that this sport is bringing me so much happiness and joy. It's helping me be a more positive and confident person. I was doing well in, moderately well in my studies. So I was doing well. So my parents didn't really come in the way of my love for the game. But as I grew up, I remember when I finished school and college, the opportunities to play sort of reduced. Because, of course, as I grew up, I never saw, there was no national team. So I didn't know what the future was. I just wanted to keep playing for as long as I could. But when I went into university, I saw that there is no, like when I was in school, there was an annual school championship or one or two school championships in a year. But there was no university championship. There were no tournaments in the university level for women. There were for men, but not for women. So it was a bit strange for me. As I grew up, I realized what happens to all these girls who play in school? Do they stop playing or what happens? Why hasn't nobody talked about this, or why doesn't anyone do something about it? Like all the seniors that I know have played in their school life. Later on, they just quit playing. They focus on other things. Their priorities change, and they say, "Oh, there's nothing there," and hence we stopped. But nobody took the effort to organize something for these girls and to hold them back into the sport. So I remember when I was in university, I went around putting up flyers around my university. Like I designed a poster on the computer with a friend of mine and from in our university lab, computer lab. And then we made photocopies of it, and then we started putting it on the walls of the girls' lounge and the cafeteria and all these places, looking for female basketball players. If you know how to play basketball, if you want to be part of the team, please call us and come for tryouts. And then we organized a tryout, and then we formed a team. We made jerseys, and eventually we started. My generation actually started women's basketball in university. So I think even during that time, I didn't think about playing a league or going international or playing for a national team. I was just thinking of how to keep it going. Just that I should not stop, and neither should my friends. So I just started creating opportunities. So if there weren't enough teams to play a tournament, then we would play friendly games in the weekends when there's time. Just bring everybody to a court, and invite some guests and audience, and then we would just organize our own things um, without any sponsor or without any of those things. And then we just kept on practicing and all that. In 2009, when the first time we got to know that the federation was planning to form a women's team, because Indian Federation had sent an invitation that they were interested to send a team from the northeastern part of India to Bangladesh to play a few friendlies. And that's when the Bangladesh Federation decided. I'm not sure if they were completely confident that we would be able to form a team, but I think they just gave out information and notice to various schools and colleges that we want to host some tryouts. If you have some good players, please send them. And that's how I came to the tryouts. And I think the number of people who came to the tryouts was very low. I had expected that maybe when we go there would be 50 to 100 girls coming to try out for the national team, but there weren't. Mostly because many people didn't even know that this was happening. And it was very Dhaka centric. It was only, of course, basketball wasn't so popular back then in 2009. It was only played in a few cities where, of course, the basketball court exists. Like a lot of the schools and colleges outside Dhaka didn't have basketball courts, so hence there weren't a lot of players there. But now there are. It's growing now. So back then we saw a really low number of girls at the tryout, and I was thinking, are these the only people who are invited, or are there people who don't know? And I realized that yeah, maybe there are girls who just play and they don't know if there's a national team, or they just didn't want to. They didn't have that aspiration that this would happen. So eventually it worked out. We had a camp for 6 months, and then finally a team was formed. And I think one of the big reasons why that team was successful. So eventually, when we did play the game we played a 3-game series with Northeast India, a team that came from Tripura, and we won. We won that series. There were 3 games, and we won 2 out of 3, and we won the series. The reason why we were really successful was because we had a really good coach, and that coach was uh, uh, he had played in the men's national team himself, and he actually personally wanted a good women's team, and he I think he volunteered to come and coach the team, and he really invested his time and effort behind that team. I think that was the only time that we actually had a dedicated coach for the women's national team, and it showed in the results. We started off really well and we won. But after that, I think he left the federation, and we just went downhill. We never A coach was never assigned to us, and we after 2009, after playing that game, when after the tournament had ended. In 2010, we didn't play anything. There were no practices, no tournaments, no games. So naturally, a team that starts off in such a high, that okay, I won this series. I want to keep playing. I'm motivated to keep practicing and play with other teams. But there were no opportunities for us, and it was so strange because we were a good team. We did well, but there was nothing organized for us. The men's team had a lot of games throughout the year, but the women's team didn't. So that's how it became really slow. And I think 2009 till now, so many years, enough years to make a team really, really grow and do well. And the way in which our South Asian countries like India, Pakistan, like we went to the South Asian Championship and we saw how these other teams are. The way they improved over the years because the federation and the government really invested in them, trained them, did camps, started a league. But those things our federation didn't do. And that over the years, the happiness in me started turning into frustration and unhappiness. That there's so much love among these girls to play the sport without expecting anything in return. Like all these girls never wanted to play for a national team or never wanted to earn money. Like we played for from 2009 till 2018. I played for the national team. Never earned a salary. They never gave us a salary. We never gave us a match fee. None of those things because they always said that we are still growing. We don't have a lot of money. We can't pay you much. So all these things they told us. So hence we didn't expect anything in return. We just wanted to play. We just wanted to grow, do well, and play. And then suddenly it just became really. There was a lot of unhappiness within us. Really frustrating to see that other teams are doing well and we are not, and so much discrimination going on. So yeah, I just for me it was the motivation to initially when I was younger to keep playing for as long as we can, and not just me, but because it's a team sport, it's not just about me. I can't continue playing on my own without leaving my team behind. So I wanted to move forward with them. And then later on, when the frustration started building in, the motivation was to do something different and bring about a change for everyone.
It's so interesting. Love when you went out to put flyers everywhere to recruit participants. I think it's also the unofficial start of Deshi Ballers, with a few years later. No, I think maybe I find it so interesting that you mentioned the team spirit is what um, you really enjoyed. For example, me, one thing I play badminton, right? And I think it's individual sport. I mean, you can play doubles, but I mainly play singles. And one day I played football with some people and I did a mistake. And I hated myself because I come from individual sport. But then the team was like, no, it's all our fault. It's not trying to, they never thought it was my fault. But me coming from single sport, where I really hated myself. And it's the first time I discovered what a team meant. But it was very late, I was 20 or something. So I wonder, starting basketball, realizing what a team is from such a young age and being with a team for all these years and also facing so many victories and maybe defeats in finals, which can be, also difficult to live. I wonder what, values or what kind of, not skills, but what kind of values do you think it developed? And maybe how did that make you different from other youths who don't play, team sport or basketball or sports in general during all these years?
Yeah, I think I agree with what you said about, team being a team sport and playing an individual sport. I mean, playing an individual sport, everything is on you, all the pressure of winning or losing. And then when you succeed or when you fail, it's a lot of emotional stress if you're an individual athlete and you're training on your own versus when you're playing a team sport. I think the victories and the failures are sort of shared amongst everyone on the team, and everybody takes equal accountability and responsibility that, hey, it's not only one person's fault because it's a team sport, so everybody had a role to play, or everybody had a certain mistake for which a team didn't perform. So that thing I think really helps. And when people play team sports, I think there are skills that are transferable from the basketball court or from the field into other spheres of life. I think things like your responsibility towards your team, and if there's something good that happened or something bad that happened, then regrouping and celebrating it together, or talking about it and discussing where you went wrong, why did the team fail, and then thinking about how we can do better next time. So regrouping and discussing and finding a solution, those kind of things I think really help. For sure, it helped me in the later phases of my life, even when I went to work, organizing and working with a team. I always prefer, even in the workplace, I realized that I prefer working with a team rather than working on a project individually. I always like to share the load and share the stress and make the work much more enjoyable and fun. So that's there. And I think playing a team sport also, and I think any sport, helps to really overcome and learn from failures. Sometimes in life, a lot of people go through this. You become depressed, you become upset, and it consumes you. When you fail in something and you've dreamt of something really big, but you were not able to succeed or live up to those dreams. And that's when people really struggle to move on. They don't know, they keep thinking about it in their heads, and then they feel depressed, and it affects them emotionally so badly. But I think when you play a team sport, maybe it doesn't impact you as much, and you can move on and look forward and think about the next victories and the next things that you want. And of course, sportsmanship is something that you can take off the court as well. Always be respectful towards the other players on your team. So showing respect to even your opponent who you're trying to beat on the court, and you're trying to win and score against. But at the end of the day, you want to come back home, by making friends with those people on the court. You don't want to just hate them for competing with you. So I think the mentality is something that grows on people from a very young age. The way they see life, the way they see people around them, and as adults, when these athletes become bigger, they go into the workplace, or even family life. There are so many things like responsibility, being accountable, being respectful with others, teamwork, also being disciplined, coming to places on time. I think this is something that has really helped me, and I am a very disciplined person, mainly because I have so many things in my life. I have to organize it in a nice way. And I utilize my 24 hours very effectively. Like I have a fixed number of hours when I will sleep. And then from the morning till the time I will sleep, I have so many things planned out. If I don't plan, then I can't do it. So that's how I live, and I always try to respect people's time. So even when I have a meeting or when I have to be somewhere, I always leave like with more hours in hand so that I'm not late. Because I always feel like when you are late, just like during practice, if we would be late, we would be punished. I also feel that, if you're late for a meeting or if you're late to some place where you're supposed to be, you are just wasting and disrespecting that person's time. So these are just some things that playing sports has helped me, and these are skills that can be applied in other places in life.
You share a bit more about your discipline. I found it very interesting, and I mentioned a bit earlier because you have so many things to juggle. But no, since when? Where are you? You say you have a schedule. Is it recent, or is it like all your life you had this very way of seeing your schedule? And how many hours do you sleep every day, for example?
I try to sleep at least 8 hours. I try. That's the minimum people need to take in. But for me, I think the scheduling that I started to do with my life was after I started working. I think when I was a student, I was very flexible. I had classes for a number of hours, and then the rest of the day I was free for practice or to hang out with my friends. But then when I started going to work, I realized that, oh my God, like from 10 to 6 p.m., the entire day you're at office, you don't have time for anything else. So that's when I started scheduling my life. If I had to organize practices, then I would do it either early morning, like 7 a.m. till 9 a.m., and then go to work, or I would do it in the evening, like after 6 p.m., evening 1 or 2 hours. I would plan it like that. In the weekends, I would try to, plan social life, like with my friends, family, and I had to be very disciplined. Otherwise, I wouldn't have able to do all of this. And with that, I also did a little bit of music. I had a little band when I was in university, and we used to do some concerts here and there. I actually come from a musical family. My mom and dad, they're also singers. So my younger brother is also a guitar player. So I come from a musical background. So hence, music is something that's close to my heart. Even though I didn't really go to a music school, I learned on my own. Like I play the ukulele, and I can play the keyboard and the harmonium a little bit. But I never learned from a teacher. I learned by myself. So ukulele, I learned from YouTube, and the harmonium I learned from my mom and dad. So music was something really close to my heart, and I tried to fit in whenever I could. I didn't try to overstress myself, thinking that okay, today I don't have this time, but I'll try to squeeze it in and then sacrifice on my sleep. I tried not to do that. I tried to keep my schedule fairly easy, and so that I get enough rest and enough time to give to myself, to my family, and also for work. But life actually got much more difficult when I started working, and that's when I realized that, oh God, if I was a full-time athlete, then life would be so simple. But of course, I had to think otherwise. The reason why I worked was because there was no money in sports. I would have liked to be a full-time athlete, but I didn't. I wasn't able to earn a salary through sports. So that's why I started working. And many of the girls on our team, if we did get a good salary playing for the national team or playing for a league, we would have opted not to work anywhere. We would have liked to be full-time athletes, but that's how it is. And to the point where I actually had an Excel sheet, like an Excel calendar, where I would put down, on which day I have what appointment, from which time, and if there are free days, what I would do. I think over the years, I became somebody who gets easily bored. Like if I don't have things to do, I look for things to do. I don't like being idle. I just, unless I have to sleep or rest, the other times I just look for things to do. Like I clean, or I like clean my cupboard, or I'm just doing other things just to make my time useful, I guess. So I had to do that to make time for everything.
Yeah, so you always trying to do something. Really like it. And no, I think something else you said, like when you coming back to the national team and the coaching, I heard in one of your other interviews that you said a good coach can, well, I don't remember the exact word, but a good coach can really make you progress and stuff, but a great coach can change your life. And I wondered, I mean, I don't know how you practice until this moment, if you had coach before, or if it's more like peer-to-peer, advice and mentoring with your teammates. But I wondered, you had this professional basketball player from the men's team who's a coach for like 3 games. Did you progress a lot in terms of, like, I guess, concrete basketball skills, or maybe, I don't know, the way to function with other players during these days? Or, what did this coach bring in terms of maybe your vision, but also your basketball skills?
Yeah. The coach was, I think, a good coach can change your game and help you win championships, but a great coach can change your life. So for me, I think two very important coaches of my life. One was the national team coach back in 2009. His name was Iqbal Hussein Amy. And what I really saw in him was that he was thinking about something that was beyond basketball. Like he was truly invested in the team. And this was the first time that a team was happening. So all the girls were scared. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't know how they would perform. But he motivated everyone. He tried to ensure that they did not face any troubles at home. If needed, sometimes he would even talk to the parents. Like, for example, when I was on the team, I was the youngest on the team, and I had classes, so I had to finish classes and come to practice. Sometimes my father would bring me to practice because I lived really far away from the practice location. So it was like a 1.5 hours commute for me every day. So my father would drive me or take me through a taxi or something. And the coach actually met my father one day when he dropped me off or picked me up. He talked to him and said, why do you, because a lot of the players lived nearby, so they would commute by themselves on a rickshaw or something. So the coach actually asked my father that, it's really hard for you to commute every day. You bring your daughter and you take her home. And my father had a job as well, so he was doing it after his office hours, and it was really hectic for him. And the coach actually offered and said that we can arrange a car service, a drop off and a pickup service for your daughter if you feel that would be easier for you, because you are also commuting with your daughter, so it's hard for you. So those things made me realize that he was not only here to teach basketball skills, he was trying to create a community, create a group of girls who would stay with basketball. He wanted to ensure he could have just not cared. He could have not cared who is coming from where, what background they're coming from, but he was really invested. Like every day at practice, he would ask, what did you eat at home? What did you do all day? And we came from different backgrounds, and everyone had a different story to say, and we would share those things in practice. He would also make lots of jokes, and he had a nickname for all of us. So I lived really far away, and the location where I lived is called Uttara. So he used to call me Uttara. He used to call me like, hey, Uttara, come here, do this, do that. So, he tried to really bond with the team, unlike the other coaches I've seen in my career, in my life, where they would just come, teach, do drills, and then go home. But this coach was really invested to know the players, understand where they're coming from. If they were having issues at home, he would try to solve them. He at least tried. I don't know if he was able to solve them all, but he at least tried to speak to parents and things. So that was one coach who really taught me that, your team, the team you coach is not only, you're not only coaching them to become a winner at a game, but also, to become good human beings. And he would teach us lots of valuable lessons during practice. So that's one. And I think the second coach that I got the good opportunity to have was much later in life, actually. So when after I had Deshi Ballers, and we didn't have a coach for Deshi Ballers. So because it would cost us a lot of money to keep a full-time coach. We didn't have a lot of funding back then, because we have to rent the court for practices. We have to rent. We don't have a lot of public courts to play in, so we have to rent a good private court which is safe and secured for girls. So because there was a fee involved, and we divided it up among the players. Hiring a coach would mean that it would have to be funded by the players, through fees. So we wanted to keep it minimal, and we used to run the seniors, me and some of the other senior girls. We used to run the practices, so we were also becoming sort of like coaches. So that's how we used to prepare for our teams. And I think there was a college tournament where they invited a team from Deshi Ballers, a senior team from Deshi Ballers, saying that the American school in Dhaka, actually, they were going to go abroad for a tournament, and they said they want to play some practice games with some of the best girls in Dhaka. And they reached out to Deshi Ballers and said, why don't you send us a team? So then we prepared a team, and we went there to play, and we won. And there was a coach over there. So he was a middle school teacher at the school. He wasn't the basketball coach, but he was a teacher over there. But he had some coaching experiences in other countries where he worked. So he came up to us and he said, who coaches the Deshi Ballers team? And I said, we don't have a coach. And then he said, really? How come? Then how did you prepare this team? And then we said, we don't have a coach, but we have a court, which we booked. We have this group of girls. And then what I used to do was I used to look at on YouTube, on the NBA website, on the other, online places where there are practice plans with videos. I would learn them. And then on the court, I would try to teach the rest of the girls, and I would make a practice plan, and then we would do those drills by ourselves. And he was so shocked, and he said, this is crazy, because without a coach, I mean, you guys played quite well. And if you had a coach, then think about how well you could have played. So then his name was Coach Caleb Ernest. We call him Coach Caleb. And then he said, if you would allow me, then I would like to come to your practices, and I would voluntarily like to help you guys. So that's when he started coming to our practices, and we started, we had a big group of girls, about 20, 30 girls who would come to train at our practices, and Coach Caleb used to help run the drills. And this coach was, I realized that he is much more experienced and knowledgeable. Like he had knowledge of coaching girls from Afghanistan, from Kenya. Like he was in many countries in his lifetime, and he got a good coach's degree in the US as well. We had never in Bangladesh experienced a coach like him. And I realized that if given the opportunity, if we had the resources, if we had a good coach, a good teacher teaching us, or the national team, or any team, has the willingness to and the potential to succeed. So staying and being connected with Coach Caleb, and he's still connected with us, even though now he became a middle school principal, so he can't give a lot of time. But during that 1 year, he trained us. He taught us a lot of drills, which now we can do by ourselves. Like he taught us the basics. He said, this is how you do it. And now we can run it by ourselves. And he's still connected with us. Any kind of Deshi Ballers activities or anything strategic, we always go to him, saying that, Coach, what do you think if we do it like this? If we're organizing a tournament, then what should be the tournament format? He really supports us and helps us plan and organize. So he became more than just a coach. He became a mentor. He became a strategic guide for Deshi Ballers as well. So I would say that these two coaches, somebody that I had met much earlier when I was younger, and somebody I met much older, when I was much older, these are the two coaches that really made a difference in my life.
This is so interesting. I think can really, I think for me, it makes me reflect like what is, why some coaches are great, why some coaches are not great. I mean, it's not a magic formula, but I think from what I hear, I mean, the care from the first one, really caring not only about the game, but about the people in his team. And then for Caleb, not only the care, but I think also, I mean, he understood what you were doing. He saw the potential. He saw that you are no bullshit people. And he was like, yeah, let's support them. I mean, I think, I mean, he saw, they have the core, they have everything. They just lack a coach right now. And I can provide that. So he really cared. But yeah, I I don't know if it's too related, but I was watching on Netflix. There is this series about coaching. So they interview a super famous coach, like guy called Jose Mourinho. He was a football coach, and they interviewed as well Patrick Mouratoglou. He was a coach of Serena Williams, tennis woman, for 10 years. It's very interesting. So since then, I'm like, when they were sharing, they don't share a lot about the technical aspect, but they share more about how they really care for the players. They will sacrifice themselves for their team. And I think it's something, I don't know how you develop this, right? But it's good to know, and good that you, had this experience with these two coaches, and that it's something, I guess, which stayed with you, right? So it's something you also share with the Deshi Baller community. And maybe let's speak about Deshi Baller. So you mentioned the Global Sports Mentorship Program. I think it's so interesting because I felt like you always had this desire, to okay, how can we make women in basketball more mainstream? And then this ESPN program gave you okay. So let me rephrase. What did this program? Did it give you like tools, confidence? I don't know how did it made you push forward and start this Deshi Baller?
The program was actually designed to work on my action plan. So, the program is designed to make us think about the challenges in our community. What tools do we have now? What tools are we lacking? And what more do we need? And where do we want to go? Like, what's the destination, or what's the future, or the vision that I have, where I want to take women's basketball? So there were some classroom sessions where there were professors from the University of Tennessee Sports Diplomacy Division of the United States Diplomacy Division. They all came and they spoke to us. They gave us lots of lectures and understanding about how sports management takes place, and then how even basic things like how, as a sports leader, you should be presentable to your community. If you're doing public speaking, how should you stand? What should be your posture? And even when there are difficult conversations, when you have difficult stakeholders, like working with the government or people, who really annoy you and irritate you, how should you respond to them? Because you will have a lot of enemies. You will have a lot of people who put you down. So how should you respond to them? How should you answer to the media? A lot of things they taught us. And after that, after the classroom sessions, we are also paired with a mentoring organization based on the sport that we are specializing in. So since I was in basketball, I was paired with an NBA team, the San Antonio Spurs. So I was with them for 1 month, and the good thing was that it was the season opening time, so I was able to see some of their practices. And their practices are like super confidential. Like you're not allowed to go into the practice without a cell phone. You can't, record or take pictures. So I just went with a notebook and just tried to write down what drills they were doing, what they were doing, and I sat with the coach. You know that the Spurs coach is Coach Greg Popovich. He's a very famous coach. He was the coach for the Olympics, the national team this time for USA also. Greg Popovich is the head coach, and the assistant coach is a female WNBA player, a retired player. Her name is Becky Hammon, and I think right now they're thinking about how Coach Pop will retire and Becky Hammon will take his place, and she'll be the first female coach for an NBA team in the history. So it was super amazing to watch this woman coach these big men, and like and her height is my height, which is like 5'3", 5'2", or 5'3". She's really tiny, and she was coaching these big men and with so much strength and confidence. I was just watching her, and that's when I realized that I want to become a coach at some point here in Bangladesh. And because in Bangladesh, of course, we don't even have coaches. We have a very limited pool of coaches that we have, and secondly, we've never had a female coach. So my dream is to become the first female coach of this country, inshallah, at some point. But at this program, I was able to see what the future can look like. I saw the top quality practices that they're doing. I saw I saw the NBA games sitting from the front line, and not just games. I saw all the other sponsors of the league and all the other sponsors of the event. What exactly were they doing, and why are they funding and why are they sponsoring this event? So, in between breaks, in between games, these sponsors do a lot of activities with the audience. And those are the things that I try to note down, thinking, if I have to get a sponsor here, I need to make the game interesting. It has to be beyond more than just the game for a sponsor to come and put money behind the sport. So I was just trying to observe everything, what was going on. And the good thing is that the Spurs also had a sort of like a development or a charity kind of a section where they did fundraisers, and then they build community basketball courts. They do junior leagues. I went to one of their community basketball courts where they teach little kids. I saw those. I was able to go to a coach's training, so I did a short training on coaching as well. So it was a great experience. So what they do is after all this 2 month, 1 month of classroom sessions and another 1 month of mentoring with an organization like a sports organization, all the participants had to come back and give a action plan presentation where what do I want to do when I go back to Bangladesh, and what are the tools I need, and where am I lacking, and how can I get there, like in 3 years or in 5 years. So my dream and what I presented in my action plan was that I want to create a platform, an organization like Deshi Ballers, and I want to start junior camps, like a youth basketball camp, so that the sport spreads from one city to the other parts of the country. So I want to go to each and every city to start doing camps, and then eventually have a league where all these cities will have a growing pool of girls playing basketball, and then from the league we will have good players who play for the national team and do well. So right now, I mean, I always believe, and one of the coaches there told me that in order for you to have a good national team, you must have a good national league, because that's the place where the players will play. That's the place where players will practice and groom themselves throughout the year. A national team can't be a team that sleeps all year, and then if there's a tournament, they will just practice for 2 months and go. That's what we were doing. So we didn't have a league. If there was a league, if there was like a summer league and a winter league, then the girls and the players would be practicing all year. But that was not happening. So I wanted to develop skills, but at the same time, give girls a platform to continue playing. So with Deshi Ballers, we try to do annual tournaments. We have a training program, and we have a youth basketball camp program where we go to different cities. We go to underprivileged schools. We go to different kinds of areas where basketball, nobody has ever seen or played basketball. We try to introduce this sport. So right now, I think over the last 2, 3 years, a lot of people know about basketball, to the point where even like, I think this time, and I was very surprised to see this. I was watching the WNBA games in the Olympics, sorry, the women's basketball games in the Olympics, and I couldn't find the channel where they were showing the women's basketball games. I was seeing like other, like speed walking and other kinds of sports on the sports channels, ESPN and all, but I couldn't find women's basketball. But I found it on the Bangladesh TV. BTV is our local channel, and BTV was airing women's basketball, and I was so surprised that I could never believe that I would live to see this day, that Bangladeshi local government channel is showing women's basketball. So I think uh, there's a good awareness right now. It's growing. More people know about basketball. They want to learn. And, coming month in October, there is a national championship that is happening, that is organized by the federation, and where teams from 8 cities are playing. I will be playing for my city, and there are eight cities that are playing. So, which means at least 80 girls will be participating in this championship, and it's huge for us. It's the first time that so many cities are participating, and it's really, really growing, and it's a good time. So, I think the whole experience for me really paid off, because it gave me the confidence, the tools, the strategic mindset. Like till now, I am connected with them. If I have any kind of strategic idea or plan that I want to share with them, bounce off with them, that hey, what do you think about this? They are still my mentors. I can still reach out to them, show them a concept paper, and ask them, do you think this sounds good? Do I need to change it? And they always have the time to give feedback. So they are with me till now, and it has really helped change the face of basketball here in Bangladesh, that program.
Do you remember I don't know if there was a first day of Deshi Baller, but what, you came back to Bangladesh. What did you first do to really put your action plan in implementation?
I think I went to practice with the regular practices that we used to do, but that practice didn't have a name. That practice didn't have, it wasn't called Deshi Ballers or anything, but I just invited everyone, because all the girls were so excited that I had gone to the US, and none of them had ever been to the US. So they were very excited, and they wanted to know what I did. So the first thing that I did was to call a basketball practice where everybody came. And I think the first half an hour of practice, we didn't play at all. We were just sitting on the court, and I was just telling them about the experience, what I did, what happened. And that's the first thing I did. I think I was so excited to share with everyone, and all the girls wanted to know that, Ashreen, what did you learn? Who did you see? How many NBA players did you see? Show us pictures, this, that. But everybody was super excited. And that's what I think got the Deshi Ballers platform rolling really, really quick, because after I came back, the following few weeks, I was very busy, because a lot of people were taking interviews. Because it was an ESPN program, it was a State Department program. It helped me put my idea on the news, and that was really helpful. If it was just an ordinary program, which was not well known, maybe it wouldn't get publicized so much. So I got lots of interviews. It was on the news, and a lot of people came forward and said, hey, I want to help, I want to donate, I want to fund your initiative, I want to sponsor jerseys for your team. So those kind of things happened very fast, like in a few weeks, because it was all out in the news, and the interviews and podcasts and things really helped. But the first thing I did was share my experiences with my girls.
That's so cool. I think now it's so nice, because you had, after sharing with all your teammates, you had, I think, this natural opportunities to pitch everywhere. And then it's by sharing about it that people come on board. I think it's really cool. No, very cool program. And yeah, I think I mean I also watched your your speech when you were giving the 1 year speech of Deshi Baller. Very so yeah, I think I mean I could grasp some of the milestone of Deshi Baller, some of the tournaments you organize. I think that you've done so many things. I think I like it. I think at some point someone was asking you, no, you were answering a question like, is Deshi Baller a team? And you said, no, we are a community. Um, and you, I think, can really feel it. You know, you are really maybe inspired by your first coach, but you seem to really, really care, not only about the mission, but really about any single basketball player that goes through your programs. And yeah, no, I think I wonder, you know, like how did you? Because I think pitching, I mean, you can pitch, but how did you manage to build this great community of, and you know, like break the norms of, okay, basketball should not be a sport that should be played and that women should play, and until like now, okay, it's broadcasted on national TV. I think you've achieved so many things in like just 2 years. So yeah, if you could share a bit about that, some of your milestone and challenges.
Yeah, that 1 year speech, I can't remember what I said, but it was very emotional and heartfelt. I remember that day we invited all our coaches, players in one place, and it was raining. We wanted to organize the event on the basketball court, but it was raining, so we had to go into a covered place to do that. So it was a bit of a challenge, but yeah, I think I just wanted to break the norms, and the way I was able to do that was to be true and authentic. I think I was, and you know, we as a community, we were at a point where we had lost complete hope and trust in the system, which is the federation or which is the sports ministry. So those kind of things were there. You know, it was there in the players' minds that the sports ministry does not care for us, or the basketball federation does not create opportunities for us, and that's okay. I think different organizations may have different priorities. The leadership on those organizations can be problematic often, and I always say that unless you have enough women on the boards of the federation or the ministry, you can't do any progress with women's sports. You have to have women on those tables where these decisions are made. Otherwise, it's a male dominated kind of a leadership in these places. So hence they don't think that it's important to invest behind women, which is fine. We could fight with them all our lives, but instead we created an organization that is led by women, and we're just doing, like you said in the beginning, these are things that should be done by the federation, but we are doing it for girls, we are doing it for women. And sometimes boys come and ask us, hey, why aren't you doing something for the boys? And now they are realizing that, oh my god, now some of the cool things that we are doing for the girls, even the boys have not ever experienced themselves, the regular practices and trainings and taking them to places to play and those kind of things. So I think one by one we tried to take things slow initially. We didn't want to overpromise based on how much resources we have, because we started off very small. It was just two or three of us running the organization, and we all had our day jobs, and in the after our day jobs were over, in the evening we would sit with planning for Deshi Ballers and what can we do. We tried to get as many partners and friends on board, like people who believed in our cause, and it really helped, because the people who are running the organization are also players. It was me and one of my teammates, Monica, and my husband, who is also a basketball player. So when people saw that this organization is being run by players who have experienced the challenges and struggles themselves, it must mean that they want to do something good. And and we were always very transparent about how we operated, in terms of finances. It was always a fundraiser, or it was, we were taking in donations and things, and we were always very open and transparent about how much money we're receiving and how much we are using for what purpose. So over time, I think all these girls really began to trust Deshi Ballers and realize that okay, Deshi Ballers will always be there for me and give me a chance to play, and not just once but multiple times. Like we are doing multiple tournaments throughout the year. Unlike the federation, who's sometimes they're very inconsistent. In one year they will have a tournament, the next 2 3 years there won't be any tournament again, and the third year there'll be a tournament. It's very inconsistent, but at least our girls know that Deshi Ballers will have a regular training program where I can go. There is a fitness program. If I'm not a basketball player, then I can also go and join their fitness classes. And there is a tournament or 2 3 tournaments in a year where they can come and play and showcase their skills and talents. So they really began to trust in our work, and we got a lot of validation, and we won some good awards as well. Like we won a national award, the Joy Bangla Youth Award, which is one of the most prestigious youth awards that the government gives to youth-led initiatives in Bangladesh. And we never thought that within 2 3 years time we would even be considered, but we were picked up and we sent an application, and then even the government saw potential in us. And right now, because we have been so consistent and with our promise, that we will give girls a platform to play, we'll also give girls a platform to learn. And we are now trying to develop a program for senior girls who are sort of, retired. Maybe they're not able to play full time, or maybe they have other commitments, personal commitments. But we're trying to develop coaches, female coaches and female managers and female mentors, which we've never had. So if you're not able to play, then there are other ways in which you can stay with the community and help us run things. So it's very nice and positive, and the girls have seen the value. And then through word of mouth, actually, a lot of things work as well. When a group of girls play and participate in a tournament, like our tournaments are much different from any other tournaments that happen in the country, in a sense that we give away jerseys and t-shirts to everyone. We give medals to everyone. Like somebody who lost all the games will still go home with a participation medal. So that really motivates the girls. And when the thought behind doing this is, when a girl goes home with a medal and shows this to her mom, dad, brothers and sisters, they realize, okay, well, she's bringing back something that she's proud of. She's bringing home an accolade, and that medal she can hang in her room. Maybe she will cherish it, and maybe she didn't win, but she went home with a participation award, a certificate, and a little medal to showcase in her room. And this also gives parents an opportunity to see that there is value in letting your girls out to go and play, because she's bringing home something that matters, that's tangible, and it's something nice that she can keep, like a memento, and also it makes her happy. So those things we try to give experiences as well as opportunities to play, and I think everyone looks forward to our events. Like whenever we want to host something, and we give a deadline, like the last tournament that we hosted, and over the years, I think the first tournament that we hosted, we had 5 teams. The second tournament that we hosted, we had 12 teams. And the third tournament, the last one that we organized, we had 16 teams. So it's gradually increasing, and we didn't plan on actually taking 16 teams because we wouldn't be able to pull it off. We would need a lot of people to manage those. But after, we wanted to take like 12 or 14 teams, but then there were teams calling us up and saying, please include us. We want to play. We were waiting all year to play. We practiced. So then we had to extend and take 2 more teams and make it 16. So that's the kind of love we see from people, and we always try to invest behind the players. Whatever sponsorship money or any kind of donations and funding we get, we don't try to take funds from the girls. We'd rather try to give them back something to take home, like jerseys and t-shirts and medals and trophies. We always invest behind them, and that's the value they see. That they go to a tournament, they get lunch, They get food, they get jerseys and t-shirts. They always have so many things to take back home, and it's a fun place to be. And that's how I think the love for Deshi Ballers has constantly increased among the players. So the community has really, really grown from like about 50, 60 players to now 300 to 400 girls around the country know about Deshi Ballers. And right now we have about more than 5,000 followers, organic followers. So we don't do any paid promotions because, it's sometimes it can be sensitive if we promote, with money. We don't want to boost and promote content to people who are not our audience. So we want the right audience who will respect and appreciate the girls. So sometimes, you see a lot of hate comments on social media. We don't want that. So hence we don't promote, like we don't pay money to boost any of our things. We only use organic, like we share it in the right places, and we want the right audience to support and follow us. So 5,000, all the 5,000 people on our page are actually people like we know. We know our friends and families of our players and whoever. So it's growing, and at the same time, I think the support from a lot of our friends and family members have helped. Like, for example, I have a friend who does photography, and he called me up and he said, I will come and do photography for your event for free. I'll do it for free. And then he comes and does sports photography at our events. Like he takes really nice, cool pictures of the girls, and they get super excited to get a picture. And then they use those pictures at home, they frame it, or they share it on social media. And all these years, like when I grew up and I played tournaments, no one ever took any pictures of me. I have no good pictures, so no one even bothers to, like, the tournaments that we've played, even with the federation, they didn't bother to hire a photographer to take good pictures and to keep memories and documentation of events. So even that is important, keeping these pictures, and then we use those pictures to showcase. We send those pictures in newspapers and to publicize it in other places on TV and things. We've been very lucky. Like some of the TV channels have voluntarily come and said, okay, we want to give you 5 minutes of airtime. And 5 minutes of airtime on TV is huge. Like, we would give them videos and things of the whole tournament. We will make a 5 minute, summary of the event, and then they would put it on the sports section of the news. So that's big for us. So, we were able to make it to the news, on TV, in the right places, also on social media. And those kind of things have really helped us, and our community grow bigger and bigger every day.
Really love it. I think the first thing I really like is, I think your approach in terms of when you started with, work with young girls and train them in basketball, and soon realize, okay, actually there's so many things that we need to change, but no worries. Okay, we'll train women to be coach, we'll train women to be referees, we'll train whoever, and we'll also make parents proud. I think it's also very important to be able to influence the parents. And I think the medal is it's so good and such a great hack as well to reach the parents at home. And also, I think what you are doing, making basketball, trendy, some sort, people, they share on Facebook their picture, the events are fun, you have more teams, like everyone wants to register. I think it's a start of, okay, now people, they want to come because it's cool, their friends are doing it. I think can really go super far. And another thing I really like is that you bring this professional setting, to all your tournaments, professional picture, all this thing. I think it's so, so important as well. So people see, all the efforts you've put in, but they really have the experience that they should have, so it's really, really cool. Maybe a question, because you inspire so many people through Deshi, through everything. But if we turn this question around, like what gives you energy, what inspires you when maybe you feel a bit more down, a bit more sad, or maybe when you feel some doubts, what gives you some energy?
I don't know. This is a tough question that a lot of people ask me. What gives you energy to do so much, and how do you stay positive? Because, of course, there are lots of battles we have to fight till now. I mean, it's not a smooth sailing road. There are lots of drawbacks and challenges. Like, we are doing well, but we have a lot of people who don't see us as friends. So I mean, we've kept open doors to collaborate with anyone on any kind of good program or things like that. Certainly with the Basketball Federation as well, because of course these girls, they now aspire to play for the national team. They want to be part of a national tournament, a league. They're aspiring to be at a national level, but for that we have to work with the federation. But the federation has not seen us as a friend. They rather see us as an enemy. So it's been challenging there, and sometimes upsetting as well. I don't know what keeps me happy. I think the stories and really making a difference in some of the girls' lives, like when some of them come and tell me that they were really struggling, and because they found Deshi Ballers and a program and a community, they are now doing better in life. They're much more happier. I think when I hear these things, it really keeps me going. Like, for example, I remember there was this girl in school. I don't even remember her name or where she was from, but apparently she told me this story much later. And this was when I was also much younger. Maybe I had just started working, or maybe I was still in university. I can't remember. And we used to play at this local court, basketball court, like pick up games and just practice. We used to do that. This was way before Deshi Ballers. We used to play there, and some girls from the neighborhood would come and we would play. And I think one day, a few days, I stopped seeing one of the girls. She didn't come for a long time, for a few weeks. And then one day I called her, and I said, why aren't you coming? And then she said she had some family problems and issues at home for which she was unable to continue practices. And I said, if you want, I can speak to your mom or dad, like if there's anything I can help with. So I think there was some issue with, like, we were playing in the evenings, so her parents wouldn't let her stay outside after dark. And then I offered to give her a lift home. I spoke to her older brother and I said, let her come to play. She really wants to play. And maybe on my way home, I can drop her at night. I can help her give a lift because she doesn't have a car. So, and later on, much later, she came and told me that really changed her life, in the sense that, her parents were telling her, forbidding her to play sports because they wouldn't allow her to stay at night. They didn't have a transport. And the fact that I helped her really helped her come back to playing. And now she's still playing. She's playing regularly. I see her at tournaments. I think she just finished school. She's going to go into university. But these are some stories that, small things that when I see that these girls are doing well, the sports is really, making a difference. There's one girl in our community who trains at Deshi Ballers and plays tournaments and plays regularly. And she was, so we sometimes we get a lot of invitations from the US Embassy about programs for youth, like right now they're not able to travel to the US, but lots of virtual programs on leadership, on youth development, on sports. They send us these invitations, and sometimes I just forward it to my girls and say, some of you should apply. And 2 years back, 5 of my girls got selected for one of those programs. And out of those 5, one of the girls just very recently started her own business, some boutique, some T-shirts and things she's selling. So these kind of things really give me so much pride that, how their journey is changing. She was just a kid from school who used to come train with us, and then she went on this program, and now she's like an entrepreneur. She has her own shop. She's selling things, running her own page on Facebook, doing those social media things. I think these stories and seeing how Deshi Ballers is somewhat helping these girls in their lives is what keeps me going and makes me happy. And the value that I really see that, okay, maybe right now I'm seeing, okay, it's doing well, it's going well, but maybe 10 years or 20 years down the line is when I will really see the impact of a bigger impact when more and more girls are touched from our programs and from the work we do. Maybe then we will see a bigger impact. Like right now, another example that I can give is a few weeks back, and previously, as I grew up, I always found myself, you know, asking the difficult questions or fighting with people about, oh, why can't we get this opportunity? Why aren't we getting paid? Why are the men getting paid and the women not getting paid? So I used to ask these questions to the federation, and the federation would really hate me, saying that, why are you asking so many questions? You just keep quiet and play. Those kind of things they would tell me. But I was always the one arguing and fighting and, constantly poking and trying to fight for the girls, because a lot of people don't have the courage to speak. I was always the one who was speaking, and hence I became like an enemy for all these organizations. And right now, and there were times when I used to feel that, why am I the only one who's speaking? Won't there ever be any other girl also speaking with me? So that was a bit frustrating for me. But now, from 2009 till now, 2021, now I can see a lot of these girls fighting and asking these questions. So a few days back, there was an under 21 tournament and it was organized by some people from a university, some organizers, young kids were organizing it. I didn't know about it. Because it was an under 21 event, so I didn't know. But somebody came and told me that this is a tournament, and here they have kept an entry fee for participation. So if you have to participate, then you have to sign up with some entry fee money with your team. Apparently, they had two different fees for the girls and boys. So the girls' fees was 500 taka, $500 more than the boys. For some absurd reason, I couldn't figure out. I said, why? So the boys had to pay 3,000 taka, Bangladeshi taka currency. Boys had to pay 3,000, and the girls had to pay 3,500. So I said, well, why is this? Are the girls going to get something special at this tournament? Like, are they getting jerseys or something? What's the reason? And then it didn't make sense to me. They were explaining something about how the number of girls teams is limited, lower, and hence they would have to pay extra money to book the court, something that did not make any sense to me. And I got very angry, and I thought, I have to go and speak to these organizers and say that, you cannot charge extra money from the girls because your logic makes no sense. So it was a Facebook event page. So I went on the event page to really start an argument, and I saw that the young girls, the school kids who are under 21, like 18, 19 years of age, are already fighting about this before I even spoke. So that was a huge surprise for me, because all this time I thought I'm the only one who speaks. There are no other girls who speaks and argues with people and asks the right questions like I do. And here I was seeing, and I was just being a silent observer. I was just, scrolling through the news feed and checking all the comments. And all these girls were asking, why should the girls pay more? Your logic does not make any sense. If the court is booked for two tournaments, then the court fees should be divided equally among all the teams. It should not be more for the girls and less for the boys, or more for the boys and less for the girls. It should be either 3,000 for both or 3,500 for both, but not, different for boys and girls. Then that defies the, gender equality balance that we are trying to create. And there is no logical explanation that you're able to give. And I even saw comments where they were saying that, if you don't make this fee equal for boys and girls, we will boycott your tournament and we will not play. So this is what I was just observing, and eventually they won the fight, and the organizers made the amount equal for boys and girls. And sorry, don't mind my dog. So 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 they actually eventually made the fees equal for boys and girls, and that was a big victory. I think it's a small victory, but the fight is on, and it's the effect of the Deshi Ballers, you know, values and what we showcase, that we must always treat each other equally, boys and girls, give them the same level of opportunities, and always ask the right questions. If you are discriminated, if you are unjustly or wrongly given something, don't just accept it. Always ask that why should I give this? What's the reason for the disparity? Why not equal? So, and it's really working. All these girls are speaking up on their own, and these are the kind of things that I think really keep me going, and it makes me think that, okay, then it's not just about playing a tournament and winning, but it's also about the values and what you are preaching at these events. I mean, maybe that $500 was not a lot of money for anyone, but is the theory, or is the idea that why girls are having to pay more than boys, is what made no sense to me. And I didn't even have to fight that battle. They fought it and they won it on their own. So these are the things that I think keeps me going.
Can imagine you super angry on the page and they're like, oh, let me like everything. No, this is so cool. This is really, really cool. Yeah, no, Deshi Baller is like much more than basketball, I think, definitely. And I think much more than just gender equality. Also, I think well, I really love that you're not only sharing about winning because it's a sport, but all the values that come with it and all the values that you have learned yourself as well. And I'm sure Monica as well, and your husband. And I feel like Deshi Ballers is like this great coach that you were speaking about, changing life for all the women players. No, that's cool. And so I'm looking at the time. I think we're approaching the end. So I have just two questions that I always end with. So one is, if you could go back in time, maybe to the Ashreen who just entered university, so around 18, 19, 17, something like this, and you can tell her something, what would you tell her?
This might sound a bit strange and very functional, but I would probably tell her to take better care of her body and to learn about things like how to prevent injuries and how to deal with injuries, because as we grew up, there was never anyone who told us about these challenges and issues. Like, I am the first athlete in my own family. In my family, there was never any other athlete, a boy or a girl. So me and my younger brother, we were the only first two who actually played any sports. So naturally, even my parents didn't know like what food I should eat, what shoes I should wear. And back then, we didn't come. I didn't come from a very well-off family. Both my mom and dad are teachers, so naturally we didn't have the money to afford expensive shoes, and those kind of things. But the knowledge was also not there. I didn't know, like when I had an ankle sprain and when I had a knee problems, and a lot of the girls in the community are also facing the same. But right now we're trying to change that narrative. So when I was younger, no big sister came and told me that, hey, if you have an ankle sprain, you need to rest for 6 weeks and then do a few weeks of physiotherapy or rehabilitation, and then you should come back to sports. I didn't know that. What I used to do was I used to just rest for 3-4 weeks and then go back to playing without doing any therapy, any strength training, nothing, because nobody told me these information. So if I had to go back, I would tell myself to consult with a proper doctor, know how to take care of the body, just to prolong and ensure a longer playing career. Because right now, what I am experiencing was, like, I have a lot of knee problems and a lot of ankle problems for which I'm having to do a lot of therapy and exercises. If I did that strength building younger, then maybe right now it would be much easier for me to continue playing, because I'm one of the oldest active players in women's basketball right now. I'm 31 years old, And I am possibly I am the oldest player who is still playing, but with a lot of what can I say? Right now, I really have to look out for myself and my health, and make sure that I'm doing everything properly, so that I can avoid injuries. But when I was younger, I thought that, oh, I'm totally fine, nothing's going to happen to me. And then we are prone to a lot of injuries, and in Bangladesh, we usually play on concrete. We don't have a lot of indoor basketball courts, which is wooden. So hence, when you're playing on concrete, and this is something I learned much later when I talked to doctors and I did like Google researches and stuff, that when you run on concrete, your knees and bones erode faster if you don't wear the right shoes. So for many years, I didn't wear correct shoes. I think I started wearing proper shoes from like 2015 or 13 or 14 or 15. So much later, and all my life I wore like the wrong shoes. So that really impacted my, my health and my, injuries as an athlete. So that's the only thing that I would tell myself when I was younger.
I really love like how all the problems you faced, you are like, I will make sure that the next generation don't face it. I love this
That is very
mindset.
true, because everything that I knew, me, Monica, all the other senior players, what we've experienced, we always try to share these now with the players, and the players now also come to us that, hey, Ashreen, I'm experiencing this. Have you experienced this in your life, and what should I do? And a lot of them don't have the money to go to a therapist or a doctor all the time, but at least we can share what knowledge we have, that go talk to this doctor, or wear this kind of shoes. What shoes you are wearing is wrong. It is the basic things we can tell them. So what we struggled with, and back then, we didn't have the 2009, 10, when I started playing for the national team. I don't even think I had a smartphone. I didn't have a phone even with a camera. I had a normal phone and just for talking, and I didn't have access to internet, like, to search on Google and to find out if I'm doing it right or wrong. And there was no doctor or physiotherapist to tell us. Like, the federation did not have a doctor for the women's team, so we couldn't even ask that, is this okay? Am I doing it right? So right now we are trying to encourage girls to properly, how to come back from an injury, and how to treat your injury, so that later on, at least you can play for a long period of time, rather than ending your career when you're like 22 or 23, just because, you were not careful when you were younger.
Yeah, and I imagine like back then, yeah, it's right. You don't know who you're supposed to ask, and now, which is great, they all know. Okay, we'll ask big sister Ashreen if we have any question. How would you like to? How would you like people to remember you for?
I think I would like people to remember me as the person who changed the future of women's basketball. I don't want to be known as a person who won a lot of awards, or, a person who went on so and so programs abroad and this and that, brought back trophies and medals. I just want to be known as the person who did it the first time, the person who came forward and thought that creating this platform and doing something different for women's basketball could change the future. And we are seeing the fruits now. And I know that I may not live long enough to see the actual results, and what happens at 10 years or 20 years or even 50 years down the line. I just want to be known as the person who started it all. I know that even when I'm gone, I'm not going to be here forever, but even when I'm gone, I know that there are people in the pipeline, like my younger girls in the community, and the girls who will come after them, the next generations and the generations beyond. They will grow up with the same and similar kind of values. Like I said, on that Facebook page, I was seeing them talk in the same language that I used to talk when I was younger. And I think this is a language and a mentality that will go on for generations. And I just want to be known as the person who started it, and the person who thought that, a small change could give huge results in the future, and hence the future was forever changed, and it's there's no going back now. It's only moving forward, only moving for better days, and I'd just like to be known as the person who started it.
It's actually exactly my feeling after hearing your story, like the first one, in the like the pioneer, in your family, in basketball, in the society, the pioneer who started everything, who voiced out, who, So I think you're doing pretty well already. And yeah, maybe let me combine my two real final questions. But how would you describe yourself in 3 hashtags? And how can people in general, anyone in the world, can support Deshi Ballers?
Describe myself in hashtags. I think the only hashtag that my favorite hashtag is the one that we use for Deshi Ballers, which is the hashtag "the court needs her." And the reason why I came up with this was, the basketball court had men for all these years, for so many years, and now the court needs girls to come. So hence the court needs her. That would be my first one. What else? I have to think of 2 more.
Yeah, but you already have a sentence, so which is pretty good.
Yeah, the court needs her. That's the one that we use for Deshi Ballers. Yeah.
Cool. And in general, how can people support Deshi Ballers? Is it only people in Bangladesh can support, or if I don't know someone listens from another country, how can they support as well?
Yeah, I think everyone can support Deshi Ballers from around the world, especially in Bangladesh, but also from beyond. First of all, by just showcasing and promoting our cause, by just, we have social media pages, we have pages on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, we have videos and games and things like that. So, share and support whatever we are doing. The more we share, the more, love and likes we get, but also, more people see it, and it just reaches more and more people and our cause. And of course, there are ways in which we sometimes we do set up GoFundMe's and donation links where people can donate and give us funds so that we can provide equipment and basketball stuff to girls around the country. We also have a lot of cool merchandise. So we have like T-shirts and water bottles, mugs, and we're going to launch a lot of cool stuff as well. Initially, we didn't plan on becoming having a merchandise line, but we're seeing that it's very, very popular among these kids. They want a brand that they can connect with for basketball. So we're trying to use this as a fund generating model where we can use the funds from selling these merchandise and then use the funds back for the girls who need them. If they need equipment and things like that, we purchase it for them. So, there are ways in which this is another way in which people can support us by buying our merchandise and, sharing it, wearing it, so that, we are able to reach more and more people. And of course, a lot of people always come and collaborate with us. So if you have ideas, we always have open doors. We've done collaborations with a lot of international organizations as well. If there are mentorship opportunities where we can learn or our players can learn, that also helps. Like we have on our page, we share some of our practice videos. And we have coaches from around the world who give us a lot of feedback. So a few days back, we were practicing, we shared some videos, and a coach from Maldives, we met him during the national championship, and he follows us and gives us a lot of positive advice and coaching advice. So he saw some of the videos on drills, and he gave us some good constructive feedback about how better we can do this drill, what else we can incorporate. So we are a very open platform. We love collaborations. Just send us an email at deshiballers@gmail.com, and we are always open for ideas and ways to collaborate, expand, learn from other communities, and share our story as well.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ashreen. Really loved our conversation. We spoke for, I think, 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But no, yeah, for me, just love all your stories. I think you have a lot of, very concrete stories. Super, super cool to listen to you. And yeah, I think I'm just, so inspired by this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on Lifeline.
Thanks a lot for having me. And I look forward to listening to the whole thing. And all the girls over here are also expecting to hear this story.
Congrats for listening until the end of this episode. Of course, to best support Lifeline, you can share this episode to 2 of your friends and subscribe to the next episodes on any platform. See you next time.